Welcome back to the UFO Forums Podcast. It is fantastic to have you with us. Today isn't just another episode. We are opening the case file on what is essentially the gold standard of close encounters.
It really is. It's one of those foundational cases. When you talk to researchers, historians, or even just fans of high strangeness, all roads eventually lead back to this specific summer night in 1955.
We are talking, of course, about the Hopkinsville Encounter. And I know what some of you might be thinking. You've seen the cartoons, you've heard the jokes about little green men, and you think you know this story.
Oh yeah, everyone thinks they know it.
But today, we are going to dismantle those myths. We are looking at a case involving a terrifying night-long siege of a rural farmhouse by small metallic entities that simply would not die.
This is one of those rare events where the pop culture version is almost unrecognizable from the actual police reports and witness testimony. The reality wasn't funny. It was a horror story.
Before we barricade the doors and load the 12-gauge, I have a quick mission for you. If you want to go beyond the audio and actually see the sketches, read the original police reports, and debate the theories we're about to drop, you need to head over to the UFOforums.com.
It's where all the source material is.
Exactly. Like, subscribe, and join the discussion there. The community is already dissecting this case, and we want your voice in the mix.
It's a great place to see the primary source documents we used for this deep dive. You can see Bud Ledwith's original drawings.
Okay, let's unpack this. To understand why this night went the way it did, we have to understand where we are and, more importantly, when we are. It's August 21st, 1955. We are in Kelly, Kentucky.
And Kelly is generous, isn't it? It's a tiny hamlet. The actual location is a farmhouse about 12 kilometers north of Hopkinsville.
12 kilometers or about 8 miles.
And in 1955, in rural Kentucky, 12 kilometers might as well be 100. We need to really emphasize the isolation here.
Right. This isn't the suburbs. This is a world without the connectivity we take for granted. You're completely cut off.
Completely. The sources highlight this repeatedly. The Langford farmhouse had no telephone. They had no radio. They had no television.
Nothing. No link to the outside world.
Their water came from a well in the backyard. I mean, this is a very, very different way of life.
That context changes the stakes immediately, doesn't it? If you are in trouble, if someone or something is prowling around your house, you can't just pick up the phone and call 911.
There is no 911.
You are on your own. The isolation creates this pressure cooker environment.
It also speaks to the mindset of the witnesses. These weren't people consuming a steady diet of sci-fi B movies or listening to War of the Worlds radio dramas.
I weren't primed for this.
No, they were disconnected from that media ecosystem. They were living a very grounded agrarian life. Their reality was the farm, the weather, the crops.
Let's look at the cast of characters, because one of the strengths of this case is the sheer number of witnesses. This wasn't one guy coming home from a bar.
No, the house was absolutely packed that night.
Yeah.
You have the owner of the farm, Glennie Langford. She was 50 years old.
And she was the matriarch.
Absolutely. And every description we have of her from the police, from reporters, from her neighbors, paints the same picture. She was a serious, no-nonsense woman, the bedrock of the family.
The phrase unimpeachable witness comes up a lot in the files regarding her.
It really does. She wasn't prone to hysteria. She wasn't an attention seeker. She was just solid. Then you have her children and their families. There's her son, J.C. Sutton, and his wife, Aline, her other son, Elmer Sutton, and his wife, Vera.
So that's 5 people already.
And the guests.
Right, the guests.
Billy Ray Taylor and his wife, June, were visiting from Pennsylvania, plus Aline's brother, O.P. Baker. And on top of all the adults, you have 3 children in the house, Lonnie, Charlton, and Mary.
That brings the total to 11 people. 11 people crammed into a small farmhouse on a hot, humid August night.
It's physically uncomfortable just thinking about it. You can imagine the atmosphere inside even before anything strange happened.
Now, we have to address the stereotype. Whenever this case is mentioned in the mainstream, there is this immediate dismissal. Oh, just a bunch of hillbillies drinking moonshine.
That is the lazy skepticism talking, and it's frankly insulting. The historical record is crystal clear on this point. Mrs. Langford was a strictly religious woman. She did not allow alcohol in her home, period.
So no beer, no whiskey, no moonshine?
None. Not a drop. The police checked immediately when they arrived later that night. They looked for bottles, they checked everyone's breath, they found no alcohol and no evidence of anyone being intoxicated.
So we have to discard the drunken hallucination theory right out of the gate.
You have to. These people were sober. They were scared, but they were sober.
Okay, so let's set the scene. It's around 7:00 p.m. The sun has set. It's dark. The family is hanging out, probably trying to catch a breeze on the porch. Billy Ray Taylor gets thirsty.
A simple, mundane act. Since there's no indoor plumbing, he takes a bucket and heads out to the well in the backyard. It's a chore he's probably done 100 times.
Just a normal evening.
He's standing there pulling up water, and he looks up at the sky.
And this is where reality takes a sharp left turn.
He sees an object, a bright, silvery object. He described it as saucer-shaped, which fits the nomenclature of the time. You know, the Kenneth Arnold sighting wasn't that long before this. But the behavior is what was so specific.
It wasn't just a light.
No, it wasn't shooting across the sky like a meteor.
What was it doing?
It was gliding, silently. No engine noise, no hum, no roar. And it was incredibly low, maybe 9 to 12 meters off the ground.
So 30, 40 feet, that's treetop level.
Treetop level. If you see something the size of a bus gliding silently 30 feet above your head, that is going to make an impression. It's not something you can just explain away.
And he mentioned a trail.
Yes, a trail of multicolored exhaust, like a rainbow of colors spitting out behind it. It came in from the south, hovered for just a moment over a neighbor's field, and then descended into a gully about 90 meters from the house.
90 meters is startlingly close. That's essentially the edge of the property, isn't it? Less than a football field away.
It's right there. Billy Ray loses sight of it because of the trees, but he knows it landed. He doesn't see the impact, but he knows it went down in that dry creek bed.
So what does he do?
What would you do? The adrenaline spikes. He drops the bucket, runs back into the house, probably spilling water everywhere, shouting that he just saw a flying saucer land in the gully.
Put yourself in that living room. It's crowded, it's hot, and suddenly Billy Ray bursts in screaming about spaceships. How does the family react?
They laugh at him.
They laugh.
They think he's joking, or they think he's seeing things. They tell him it was just a shooting star or a meteor to calm down. They effectively dismiss him entirely.
I think this reaction is so important for the credibility of the case.
It's critical.
If they were looking to perpetrate a hoax, or if they were already terrified and expecting aliens, they would have reacted differently. They'd all run out with him. But the reaction is so normal. Oh, that's just Billy Ray being dramatic.
Exactly. It establishes a baseline of skepticism within the house. They weren't primed for an encounter. They didn't want to believe it. It took significant, undeniable proof to change their minds.
And that proof came about an hour later. And it didn't come from Billy Ray. It came from the dog.
Around 8:00 p.m., the family dog started barking. And we aren't talking about a casual bark at a raccoon. The witnesses described it as violent, frantic, terrified barking.
Sound of real distress.
And then the dog does something that signals predator to anyone who lives in the country, right?
Absolutely.
The barking stops abruptly, and the dog runs under the house with its tail between its legs. It retreats. When a guard dog abandons its post and hides, you know you are dealing with something formidable. That dog wanted no part of what was out there.
That fear is contagious. That's the moment the mood in the house must have shifted.
It finally motivates the men to check it out. Billy Ray and Elmer Sutton go to the back door. They step out, or at least look out through the screen into the darkness. And they see it.
What do they see?
A strange glow coming from the field, from the direction of the gully where the object had landed. An eerie, pulsing light.
And then the glow starts moving toward them.
A figure emerges from the shadows, and we need to pause here and really detail this description because it is one of the most unique and consistent descriptions in all of UFO history. It defies all the standard tropes.
It's not a gray. It's not a Nordic.
It's not a reptilian. It's a goblin. That's really the only word for it. They described a creature that was small, about 1 meter tall, so 3.5 feet, child-sized in height. But the build was completely wrong for a human child.
How so?
It had a massive, muscular upper body, really broad shoulders, a powerful-looking torso, and long, long arms. But the legs were thin, atrophied, and spindly, just these little sticks.
That's a very strange combination of features.
And the detail that everyone remembered, the detail that makes this case so bizarre, the legs had no knees.
No knees. How does something even walk without knees?
It creates a very specific type of movement, this sort of swaying, waddling gait, which we'll get to. But the strangeness continues. The head was large and perfectly round, like a basketball, and it seemed to sit directly on the shoulders. There was no visible neck.
Just a torso and a head.
Exactly. And the face.
I get this.
Large, floppy ears, almost like a bat's or a rabbit's. And the eyes were huge, glowing yellow, and set very wide apart, about 45 degrees from the center of the face.
That wide-set eye placement is usually found in prey animals on Earth to give a wide field of view. But this thing wasn't acting like prey, was it?
Not at all. And then there were the hands. The arms were so long they nearly dragged on the ground, and they ended in oversized hands equipped with long, sharp talons, not fingernails, talons.
And the skin, what did it look like?
Entirely silver. The witnesses couldn't tell if it was a suit or its bare skin, but it looked metallic. And the whole creature was giving off this eerie bioluminescent glow in the dark. It was its own light source.
So, okay, let's paint the picture. You are a farmer in 1955. You have no real concept of aliens as we know them today, and out of the darkness walks a glowing, silver, kneeless goblin with claws, and it's walking right toward your back door.
And it has its arms raised.
Which is so ambiguous. Hands up can mean I surrender, can mean I come in peace.
Or it can be a threat display, like a bear standing up to show its size. Given the claws and the glowing eyes, the Suttons and Billy Ray didn't interpret it as a peace offering. They interpreted it as a home invasion.
So the siege begins. They decide they have to defend themselves. What kind of weaponry did they have?
Elmer grabs a 20-gauge shotgun. Billy Ray grabs a .22 rifle. These are standard farm tools for pest control and hunting. Not military-grade weapons, but effective.
And they wait.
They wait until the creature is close. They let it get within 20 feet.
20 feet. 6 meters. That is unmissable range of the shotgun.
It's point blank. They open fire. The blast from the 20-gauge hits the creature square in the chest.
And this is where physics just takes a holiday. What happens?
If you shoot a biological entity, a human, a deer, a bear with a shotgun at 20 feet, it goes down, it bleeds, it dies, or at the very least, it's severely wounded. This thing did a backwards somersault.
A somersault, like an acrobat.
A complete flip in the air. It landed on all fours and scrambled off into the weeds at incredible speed. It didn't slow down. It didn't scream or make any sound. It just flipped and ran.
That reaction suggests two possibilities to me. One, it was wearing some kind of advanced kinetic armor that absorbed and redirected the impact.
Or two, it wasn't biological in the way we understand it. Maybe a robot, a drone.
The metallic skin supports the robot theory.
Yeah.
Or perhaps a cyborg biological, but heavily enhanced. The complete lack of blood is a huge data point here.
Huge. So they retreat inside, they slam the door, lock it. They're probably hyperventilating, but the creatures aren't leaving.
This wasn't a one-off.
No, this is why we call it a siege. It wasn't a hit and run. They surrounded the house. Elmer, realizing the 20-gauge wasn't enough, hands it to JC and grabs a heavier weapon, a 12-gauge shotgun.
That's serious stopping power.
For anything on this planet, yes. And soon enough, they have another target.
What happens next?
A face appears at the window. One of the creatures is right there, peering through the glass, watching them inside the house.
Oh, that's terrifying. Just the image of those glowing yellow eyes pressed against the screen, just inches away from where you and your family are standing.
Billy Ray and JC don't hesitate. They fire right through the window screen.
Destroying their own house to get the shot.
Absolutely. And again, the same result. The creature is knocked back, it flips over, and it scuttles away into the darkness, completely unharmed. It's like shooting at a rubber ball. They just bounce back.
At this point, the men are probably questioning their sanity and their ammunition supply. How many shells do you have? This is going to last all night.
It leads to a very brave, or perhaps very foolish, decision. After a lull in the action, they decide they need to confirm a kill. They can't just keep shooting into the dark. They have to know if they're doing any damage.
So they go outside.
They step out onto the front porch.
I would never leave that house. Never.
It's the classic horror movie mistake, isn't it? Billy Ray walks toward the edge of the porch, trying to peer into the yard. And the porch has this little roof overhang. As he steps under it, a clawed hand reaches down from the roof and touches his hair.
It touched him. It made physical contact.
It grabbed a handful of his hair.
Yeah.
Aline, JC's wife, was watching from the doorway. She screams, grabs Billy Ray by the shirt, and yanks him back inside the house.
Wow.
Elmer rushes out, looks up, and sees the creature perched on the roof like a gargoyle.
And he shoots it.
He blasts it with the 12-gauge, and this brings us to the locomotion anomaly. This is maybe the weirdest part of the entire encounter. The creature doesn't fall off the roof. It doesn't tumble down. It floats.
Floats, as in hovers.
The witnesses were very specific. It drifted off the roof, maintaining its altitude. It floated about 12 meters, 40 feet across the yard, and settled gently on a fence post. Then it just ran away.
That defies gravity. Right. That implies some sort of personal propulsion system.
It implies control. It wasn't falling. It was maneuvering. And while this is happening, Billy Ray spots another one perched in a maple tree. the tree sniper, as some researchers call it.
Oh, so there's more than one?
At least 2 were seen at a time. They shoot the one in the tree, and it does the exact same thing. It just floats to the ground before scurrying off into the woods.
We have to talk about the sound. You mentioned earlier that the impact sounded wrong.
Yes, this is one of my favorite details because
Yeah.
it's so bizarre and so specific. During one of the skirmishes, Elmer gets a creature cornered near the side of the house and shoots it point blank. He later told investigators that the sound wasn't a wet thud, like a bullet hitting flesh.
It wasn't biological.
It was a metallic clang.
Like shooting a suit of armor.
He specifically said it sounded like shooting a metal bucket, a loud ringing sound.
Shooting a metal bucket. That is such a specific, unglamorous detail. If you were making up a story about alien monsters, you'd describe slime or shrieks or gore. You wouldn't describe the acoustic properties of a galvanized pail.
Exactly. It's what we call a point of unnecessary detail. It adds a layer of authenticity because it's too weird to invent. It suggests they were describing exactly what they heard, even if it didn't make any sense to them.
Let's revisit the movement. You mentioned the no knees thing earlier.
Yeah.
How did that affect how they moved on the ground when they weren't floating?
The witnesses described 2 modes of travel. When they were approaching or observing, they walked upright. But because they couldn't bend their legs, they had this strange, swaying, waddling gait. They sort of shifted their whole body from side to side to move.
Like a penguin or something.
Or a toddler with leg braces. It was apparently very unsettling to watch. But when they needed speed, like after being shot, they dropped to all fours. But they didn't run like a dog or a cat.
How did they run?
They used their long, powerful arms to propel themselves. They were effectively running on their hands with their spindly legs just dragging behind them.
That creates such a creepy silhouette. A glowing, metallic spider monkey running on its hands. Just horrifying.
And speaking of glowing, the witnesses noted another strange detail. The bioluminescence seemed to intensify when the creatures were stressed or excited.
Like a threat display.
Could be. When they were shot at, or even just when the family shouted at them, they would glow brighter.
Like an energy surge.
It suggests a direct link between their physiology, or maybe their power source, and external stimuli.
So this battle rages on. How long are we talking? This isn't just a few minutes.
Hours. From about 8 p.m. to 11 p.m., it's a stalemate. The creatures keep coming back, they climb the roofs, they peer in the windows, but, and this is a crucial observation, they never try to break in.
That is the strange part, isn't it? They had the durability to withstand shotguns. They were on the roof. They could have easily smashed through a window and entered if they wanted to hurt the family.
But they didn't. They never returned fire. They didn't seem to have any weapons. Their behavior was entirely observational. It was intrusive, yes. Terrifying, absolutely. But they seemed more interested in watching the humans than harming them.
It feels like a stress test. Like scientists poking an anthill. Poke the monkeys with a stick and see what they do.
Precisely. They avoided the direct light of the yard, sticking to the shadows, and they never swarmed the house. It was always just 1 or 2 seen at a time, probing the defenses.
Eventually, the family just hits a breaking point. You can only endure that level of psychological terror for so long.
By 11:00 p.m., they're out of ammunition, or close to it. The children are hysterical, the adults are on the verge of a complete breakdown. They decide they have to make a run for it.
That is a desperate move, leaving the relative safety of the fortress to run to the cars in the dark, with those things out there.
They felt they had no choice. They piled all 11 people into 2 cars. I just imagine the chaos kids being thrown in the back, doors slamming, engines revving. They floored it out of the driveway and didn't stop until they reached the Hopkinsville police station.
And picture that arrival. It's almost midnight on a Saturday. 2 cars screech to a halt. 11 people spill out. They're frantic. They're babbling about spaceships and goblins shooting at their house.
The police officers on duty, including the chief, Russell Greenwell, were probably used to Saturday night drunks, but they recognized immediately that this was different. These people were visibly in shock.
What were the signs? How could they tell?
Well, for one, a medical investigator later measured Billy Ray's pulse. It was 140 beats per minute. That's twice the normal resting rate. The women and children were trembling uncontrollably. Greenwell, a seasoned officer, said in his report, these people were not acting. He believed them instantly. Not necessarily that they saw aliens, but that they saw something that terrified them out of their minds.
So the police mobilized. This isn't a take a report and file it situation.
No, Chief Greenwell calls in the cavalry. state troopers, a deputy sheriff, and he even contacts the military police at the nearby Fort Campbell Army base.
Bringing in the MPs is a massive escalation. That's federal involvement.
It shows how seriously they took the threat. They didn't know what they were driving into. So a convoy of about 20 officers, police, military, and even a few press photographers heads back to the farm.
What happens on the drive back? Because the weirdness wasn't confined to the farm that night, was it?
No, it wasn't. It's around midnight now. A state trooper in the convoy reported hearing a strange noise. He described it as sounding like artillery fire whining overhead.
Whining artillery.
And he saw streaks of light in the sky. He later dismissed them as meteors, but the sound, that whining projectile sound, that doesn't fit with meteors. It just adds to the atmosphere that something major was happening in the airspace over Kentucky that night.
So they finally arrive at the farmhouse, lights blazing, guns drawn. What do they find?
Silence. The creatures are gone. The police flood the grounds with searchlights. They check the roof, the trees, the gully where the ship supposedly landed.
Did they find any physical evidence?
Well, they find clear evidence of the firefight. The house is riddled with bullet holes. The window screens are shredded. The ground is absolutely carpeted with spent shotgun shells and .22 casings.
So the shooting definitely happened. The family didn't just imagine they were firing guns for 3 hours.
They turned their own home into a war zone. But as for the targets, nothing. No bodies, no blood, no strange fibers, no footprints in the hard-packed summer earth.
That's the sticking point for skeptics, right?
Yeah.
How do you shoot something for 3 hours and leave absolutely no trace?
Unless the trace is something we can't detect, or unless they took their wounded with them. However, Chief Greenwell did find one anomaly. Near the fence where the creature had been seen floating down, he found a patch of luminous grass.
Glowing grass.
It was glowing with a strange violet-green light. He actually collected a sample, but in the chaos of the investigation, it was lost or misplaced. Skeptics later claimed it was likely foxfire, a common bioluminescent fungus.
But the location.
Exactly where one of the entities landed.
That's a hell of a coincidence.
So the police are stumped. They can't arrest a ghost. What's the final verdict?
They stay for about 2 hours. They search everywhere. They conclude that the family is sincere and clearly witnessed something unusual, but there's no physical proof to act on. They leave around 2 a.m., and they just leave the family there. That seems unbelievably cruel.
The family was exhausted. They probably hoped the massive police presence and all the lights had scared the visitors away for good. They just wanted to sleep in their own beds.
But they were wrong.
This is the part of the story that really gets under my skin. It's 2:30 a.m. The police are gone. The house is dark and quiet again. Mrs. Langford is lying in bed, trying to calm her nerves. Her bedroom window is right there.
Oh, no.
She sees a light, a faint glow at the window. She looks up. And there, clinging to the screen, looking directly at her, is one of the creatures.
They waited. They actually waited.
They waited for the authorities to leave. That implies a level of intelligence and strategic awareness that is just terrifying. They knew the police were a threat, or at least a disruption to their observation. Once the blue lights were gone, they came back to finish whatever they were doing.
What does Glennie do? She must have been petrified.
She screams for her son, Elmer. And Elmer, frankly, Elmer has had enough. He's running on pure adrenaline and panic at this point. He rushes in and shoots the creature again, right through the screen.
Even with his mother right there.
Yes. Glennie was actually shouting at him, "Don't shoot, you're tearing up the house." But Elmer was past reasoning. He fired, and the siege restarted.
A second wave.
Sporadic shooting continued for another 2 hours. The creatures remained undeterred. They kept peeking in, kept climbing on the roof. It wasn't until the first light of dawn started to break, around 5 a.m., that they finally disappeared for good.
Sunlight, the ultimate disinfectant.
Or perhaps their data collection was complete. Their mission, whatever it was over.
So the sun rises. The family has survived this night of absolute terror. But now, a different kind of invasion begins.
The media invasion, the human invasion.
Word travels fast in rural Kentucky, I imagine.
It does. A local radio station, WHOP, broke the story that morning. A man named Bud Ledwith, an announcer and engineer, heard the police chatter and drove straight to the farm. And we owe a lot to Bud Ledwith.
Why is that? What did he do that was so important?
Because he acted like a true investigator, not just a journalist looking for a scoop. He arrived before the crowds. He interviewed the witnesses while the shock and the memories were still fresh. But most importantly, he sat down with them and drew sketches based on their descriptions.
And he was smart about it. He didn't have them all in a room together, right?
Exactly. He separated them. He asked Mrs. Langford to describe the creature. Then he went and asked Billy Ray separately, then the others. And their descriptions matched perfectly. The big floppy ears, the glowing eyes, the lack of knees, the talons. The sketches he produced are the primary historical record we rely on today for their appearance.
But then the national press arrives, and this is where the story gets hijacked.
It turned into an absolute circus. By the afternoon, the roads leading to the farm were blocked for half a kilometer in either direction. Tourists were trampling their garden, peering in the windows, doing the exact same thing the goblins had done.
The irony is just staggering.
Entrepreneurs showed up trying to sell hot dogs and souvenirs. People wanted to put up signs charging admission to see the alien house.
And Mrs. Langford's reaction to this really solidifies her integrity, I think.
She was furious. She refused to charge admission. She chased the peddlers away with a broom. She didn't want a dime. If this had been a hoax for profit, that was the moment to cash in. But she just wanted her life back.
The newspapers, however, weren't so kind or interested in the truth.
The national media treated it as a joke from the start. They ridiculed the family, painted them as ignorant country folk. And this is where the most famous inaccuracy of the case was born. The headline writers needed something catchy, something that would sell papers, so they used the term little green men.
Wait, little green men, that's where it comes from.
That's where it comes from. It's the phrase everyone associates with this case. But here's the truth, and this is critical. The witnesses never said they were green.
Not once.
Never. In every single interview, they said silver, metallic, glowing. But little green men was a pop culture trope at the time, likely pulled from the legacy of Orson Welles' War of the Worlds broadcast or pulp sci-fi magazines. The media slacked that label on the story, and it stuck like glue.
It's amazing how a single headline can completely rewrite history. To this day, people visualize little green aliens in Kentucky because of lazy, sensationalist journalism.
Exactly. It completely distorted the public perception of the case and made it easy to ridicule.
Did the government ever get officially involved? Where was the Air Force in all this?
Project Blue Book was the Air Force's official UFO investigation group at the time. Officially, they released a statement saying the case was unidentified, but dismissed it as having no merit for further study. They claimed they weren't investigating.
The classic nothing to see here.
But later documents, revealed through the Freedom of Information Act, showed that was a lie. The Air Force did send inquiries. A reserve officer from Fort Campbell visited the site and interviewed the family. But the leadership at Blue Book, people like Captain Ruppelt, were trying to make ufology respectable.
What does that mean?
It means they wanted reports of metallic discs and radar traces from credible pilots. They didn't want stories about goblins.
Goblins sounded like folklore. It was too weird, too high strangeness.
Exactly. It didn't fit the nuts and bolts extraterrestrial hardware narrative they were trying to build, so they buried it. They filed it away as a curiosity.
So if the government dismisses it, the professional skeptics have to step in with an explanation. And we have to talk about the owl theory.
The great horned owl theory. This is the explanation most famously championed by debunker Joe Nickell.
Walk us through it. How on earth do you mistake an owl for a metallic floating goblin?
The argument rests on a few cherry-picked visual similarities. Great horned owls are nocturnal. They have large, round, yellow eyes. They have talons. They can fly silently.
Okay, I can see the yellow eyes and talons connection, maybe.
Nickell argued that it was perhaps a pair of aggressive owls defending a nest. He suggested that the floating was just the owl gliding from the roof to a fence post.
I mean, come on.
I know, there's so many problems with it.
These people were farmers. They were hunters. They lived their entire lives in the woods of Kentucky.
That is the biggest flaw in the theory. The Suttons and Billy Ray knew what an owl looked like. They knew what a possum looked like, what a bear looked like. To suggest that 11 people, including experienced outdoorsmen, spent 6 hours fighting a bloody war against a couple of birds is, frankly, insulting to their intelligence.
And let's talk ballistics again. This is where it completely falls apart.
Right. An owl is a fragile creature. It has hollow bones. It's mostly feathers. If you hit an owl with a 12-gauge shotgun at 20 feet,
It doesn't do a backflip.
it evaporates. It becomes a cloud of feathers. It certainly doesn't make a loud metallic clang like a metal bucket when you shoot it. And last I checked, owls don't have long arms that reach the ground, and they don't run on their hands.
The theory forces you to ignore about 80% of the consistent witness testimony just to make the other 20% kind of fit.
It's a desperate attempt to find a prosaic explanation for something that fundamentally defies a prosaic explanation.
Then there's the other alternative, the hoax theory. We already established there was no money made, which is the primary motive for a hoax.
And just think about the coordination required. Try getting 11 people, including young children, to agree on a lie that's elaborate, maintain that lie through intense police interrogation while in a state of shock, and then stick to that exact same story for 50 years without a single one of them ever slipping up or recanting.
It's impossible someone would have talked.
The children grew up and told the exact same story their parents did. The adults went to their graves insisting it happened just as they said. Glennie Langford, the unimpeachable witness, never wavered for a second.
And we have the physiological data.
Yes, the heart rate. Billy Ray's pulse was 140. You can't fake that kind of terror on command. His body's fight-or-flight system was in overdrive. His body was screaming, danger.
So, if it wasn't owls, and it wasn't a hoax, we're left with the deeply uncomfortable reality that something unexplainable happened.
Something physical, tangible, and intelligent interacted with that farmhouse and its inhabitants for an entire night.
The legacy of this case is fascinating because it seeped into our pop culture in ways people don't even realize.
Absolutely. The Kelly goblins became the archetype for the modern little monster. If you've seen the movie Gremlins.
Stripe and Gizmo, of course.
The big ears, the small stature, the mischievous and terrifying nature that comes directly from the DNA of the Kelly accounts, and the movie Critters, the rolling, ball-like aliens that terrorize a farmhouse, directly inspired by the somersaulting goblins.
And for the gamers listening, this one blew my mind.
Pokemon. The Pokemon character Sableye. Look it up. Big ears, glowing jewel eyes, a weird twitchy movement. It is a direct, undeniable homage to the Hopkinsville Goblin.
And The Legend of Zelda, Majora's Mask on the Nintendo 64.
The Romani Ranch side quest. It's one of the most memorable parts of the game. You have to defend a barn all night from aliens that float down from the sky to steal the cows. That is a playable reenactment of the Kelly siege. The developers in Japan knew this story inside and out.
It's amazing how this rural Kentucky nightmare became global folklore. But there's a darker legacy too, isn't there? The bias we mentioned.
The hillbilly trope. The way the media covered Kelly Hopkinsville cemented this idea that only uneducated country folks see UFOs and aliens. It created a class bias in the field that persists to this day. For decades, if you weren't a pilot or a scientist, your testimony was considered second-rate and easily dismissed.
It silenced a lot of people who might have come forward with their own stories.
It did. But on the flip side, the sheer volume of publicity around this case forced the Air Force and civilian researchers to pay attention. It opened the door for serious investigators like Isabel Davis to do deep dives. It proved that creature cases, or close encounters of the third kind, couldn't just be ignored.
So what happened to the family in the end? Did they ever find a normal life again?
Not really. It's a tragic ending to the story. Glennie Langford sold the farm within months of the encounter. She couldn't handle the memories or the constant stream of tourists and trespassers. The family scattered. They just wanted to disappear and be left alone.
They paid a very high price for their encounter.
They lost their home, their privacy, and their peace of mind. That's the reality of it.
As we wrap this up, I want to ask you, what is the one thing about this case that really convinces you? What's the detail that keeps you up at night?
For me, it's the absurdity, the sheer strangeness of it.
Explain that.
Yeah.
How does absurdity convince you?
If they were making it up, or if it was a hallucination based on movies they'd seen, they would have described something recognizable. A Martian with an antenna, a robot with flashing lights, a gray alien. But a silver, floating, kneeless, bulletproof goblin that does gymnastics.
It's too weird to be fiction.
Exactly. Who would invent that? It challenges our filter for reality. The specificity of the movement, the hand-walking, the gravity-defying floating, it feels like a genuine observation of a biology or technology that we simply don't understand. We mock it because it looks silly to us, but maybe the universe doesn't care about our aesthetics.
That is a profound thought. We expect aliens to conform to our Hollywood-driven expectations. We don't expect them to look like that.
Reality is often stranger and more absurd than fiction.
We have 11 witnesses. We have physical evidence of a prolonged battle. We have police corroboration of the genuine terror the family experienced. And yet, because the attackers didn't fit the mold, we try to turn them into owls. I want to leave you, the listener, with this final thought. What does our reaction to the Kelly Hopkinsville case say about us? Are we truly open to the truth no matter how bizarre? Or do we only accept the mysteries that fit comfortably inside our pre-existing worldview?
That really is the core question, isn't it?
Thank you for going down this very deep, very strange rabbit hole with us. This is a case that demands debate. Head over to the UFOforums.com. I really want to hear your theory on that metal bucket sound. Was it armor? Was it a robot? Something else entirely. Let us know.
Until next time.
Keep watching the skies. Goodbye.